So welcome to 1795C Table Talk Sisters in Print. March is Women's History Month, and at Mimaki, we are committed to celebrating the women that shape the print industry through their work, creativity, dedication, and community outreach. Historically, we know that women have made important contributions to our industry's growth, whether through their technological innovations, original applications, or commercial talent. So the purpose of this panel, 1795C Table Talk Sisters in Print, is a dialogue to highlight the work of various women in the industry, bringing together a panel of women from diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences, with a range of professions, profiles, and ways their work intersects with the wide format printing industry. So our hope is that this panel will highlight women that continue to make history in our industry and really bring attention to the unique experience of being a woman who prints. So alongside our panel of experts, I also wanted to introduce some of the women that I work with on a daily basis at Mimaki. So you'll see on the screen is Lisa Humrick. Lisa is Mimaki's Public Relations and Social Media Manager. She joined Mimaki in 2019 as segment manager for the sign and graphics segment. And this was an experience building on her over 15 years experience in the industry. As she had previously worked, for example, with Orifol Americas and had a lot of hands-on experience with the different media and technologies in print. We also have Mackenzie Stevens, who is a senior application specialist with a focus on industrial products and personalization. She also leads many of our educational projects, whether it's through webinars, tutorials, or Mimaki's participation in Manufacturing Day. So she studied visual communication technology with a specialization in print and photography. We also have with us today Victoria Nelson Harris, who is our senior segment specialist with a focus on textile, fashion, and apparel. So she works closely on developing effective solutions to print on a variety of fabrics. She has collaborated with various fashion designers to bring their designs to life through digital printing. Victoria has worked as an apparel and textile designer previously for 2 brands, and she has a master's in textile science. And finally, Gabrielle is an application specialist with a focus on textile applications. So you'll probably recognize her. She has produced many of our recent tutorials and new application guides for sports apparel, sublimation on rigids, soft signage, a little bit of everything. She's done it. And she has a master's in surface imaging. So that's the background for the women of Mimaki that are here today. I just want to thank all the other panel guests that are here with us. We'll introduce each of you individually when we start discussing these different topics that we have for today. Our first guest is going to be Lainey Fugit, who is professor at Bowling Green State University. She has been an instructor, lecturer, senior lecturer, and is now a teaching professor and faculty member in the Visual Communications Technology program at the university. And she has also served as the interim assistant dean for graduate services. So Lainey's experience in print also expands outside of the academic setting. So she's worked as a customer service representative at Dana Press with exciting clients, including Marvel Comics, World Vision, and Goodhart Wilcox. She was then an art director and a print production manager at EB Display Company, during the 2020-2021 academic year. She has been on faculty improvement leave, pursuing her long time love of learning about print production, learning, training, and project management. She also regularly volunteers with the Visual Communications Technology program and is a lifetime member of the Alpha Gamma chapter at Bowling Green. She's also involved with the Epsilon Pi Tau Professional Honor Society and became the chapter's trustee in 2019. She is also a member of the Graphic Communications Education Association and of the Printing United Alliance, So thank you, Lainey, for joining us today. So the first topic I wanted to discuss with you, and the reason we wanted to start this panel discussion kind of from an academic overall view, is to have that perspective of you who have studied the technological developments, the industry, the history of it. What are some of the recent milestones and female figures in the industry that you think have transformed print?
Thank you, Christina. Thank you for the invite to participate in this panel. I really am humbled to be part of this panel with the rest of these wonderful women in print. In addressing your question, interestingly enough, that this question is very difficult to answer even in 2021. Unfortunately, it seems that stereotypes and biases, gender bias still exists somewhat within our industry, but please take heed that not all is lost, that we are heading in the right direction. I'm seeing more and more of a consistent presence of women within the industry. Back when I started as a student in the late 80s, and I would walk around, Graph Expo in McCormick Place in Chicago, there weren't a lot of women, and more recently within Printing United in 2019 and virtually in Printing United 2020, I was so happy to see many women presenting as content experts, much like this panel, and representing women in print. So as far as, heading in the right direction, I think we are. As far as specific women or milestones, one woman comes to mind that has really, through those trade shows and then also within this past year where everything has gone virtual, a consistent presence that I've seen is Deborah Korn of printmediacenter.com. She has done a fantastic job of advocating for not only print, but also for women in print and diversity and inclusion. And she has about, if you haven't visited the website, there's about 6 different areas that she champions, and one of them is Girls Who Print, that she kind of took that over from Mary Beth Smith that founded that in 2009, and it used to be just a one-day celebration, but now it's 365 days, and it really, there's other women that work alongside Deborah, Kelly Malazzi, Trish Witowski, and then Sandy Hubbard and Pat McGrew. These are women that I have seen in the past many years from the 90s on, growing in our industry, and they are providing content and resources, and she's providing the interviews with so we can learn about the different innovations that companies have, such as Mimaki, and also encouraging young professionals to come into the industry. So that group of women, that just came top of mind when presented with this question. So I hope that I am really encouraged, and I hope that that the podcasts and webinars and conferences will continue even when we can go back to see each other face to face.
I was going to say they have amazing podcasts, which are great, great learning material, great speakers. So it's a really good source to find not only inspiration for within the industry, but also from other women, and learn from other experiences that exist in our industry. What impact do you think these type of achievements have had in allowing other women to grow in our industry?
One thing that I see is just a mutual respect for each other within that group, and even meeting other women at different trade shows and networking through LinkedIn. It's just finding that respect, and then promoting growth within each other. Finding that, seeing that potential, this career path that I'm on right now, I did not expect. I expected to graduate and go into printing and be a trainer within a printing company. That was my idea. And my now colleague, Dr. Donna Troutman, she saw potential in me that I did not see in myself. And that put me on a different trajectory. After I worked in industry, I was able to come into academia and teach, and now I can help my students, but I can also still learn and teach about print. So I think finding, no matter who that person is seeing that potential that they may not see within themselves, seeing that work ethic, the personality, the initiative, the problem solving, and encouraging those women to continue with that, no matter where they're at. I'm so happy to see that there's young women that are presenting at different trade shows and all of these different virtual offerings that we have within print. So and it's a great thing. So I think that's one way that we can just kind of come alongside them and help in any way that we can.
No, absolutely. It's been, like you said, it's very refreshing to see that at trade shows, and not only with a focus, there's always panels focusing on women in print, but also just the inclusion of women in general, panels on different topics as leaders in their sectors has been really a great addition to these shows. So thank you so much, Lainey, for all these comments.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, well, just mentoring that I saw that the Printing United Alliance has a mentoring aspect that,
yes.
And they partnered with Girls Who Print. So that helps both the mentors and mentees, and the women in STEM activities that can happen. That's another way to help growth.
Well, thank you so much for mentioning all these great initiatives for everybody who's listening to potentially join them either as mentors or as mentees on either side of the board. So I think that was a great introduction to what's being done within the industry. And kind of from that discussion, I thought it would be interesting to dive into learning more about a woman in our industry that works very hands-on printing, and that would be Jen. I saw that you got back on, so that's perfect. So Jen Carney is the co-owner of Carbon Wraps in Orlando, Florida, which is a leading wrap company specializing in luxury sedans, exotic cars, as well as race and drift cars. So over 10 years ago, she started her business with her husband, and initially handled mostly the business side, the day-to-day operations, managing clients, and managing the operations. But about 7 years ago, Jen embraced her creativity and began learning to install. So she now holds all the 3M certifications and has been added as a 3M authorized trainer. She is a reference for car wrapping in the industry, and she even started Women of Wraps in 2018. So Jen holds a Bachelor of Arts in Education and Master's in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. She is a mom, a wife, a plant lover, and an avid learner, as proven by all her certifications and continued print industry. So Jen, you've really successfully brought together the creative side and the commercial side of the print business. So my first question to you was, in your role leading Carbon Wrap and also having launched Women of Wrap, what unique challenges did you face when you joined the wrapping community?
I think Lainey touched on this a little bit, but definitely we're in a male-dominated industry. And so the imposter syndrome is real. You feel inadequate, you feel like you don't measure up, like you don't belong. It's a boys' club, and we're just kind of here in the background, either behind desks or just as designers, accountants. We're doing everything else except for being in the spotlight. So for me, the imposter syndrome was very, very real. I had just finished grad school. I had to decide what I wanted to do. We started this business while I was in grad school. And so while I did both for a while, one was physically exhausting and the other was mentally draining. So I had to choose. And I chose the physically exhausting one, obviously. And so we just kind of dove in. And I remember when I was learning, even all of my preconceived notions of I'm not good enough, I don't know what I'm doing. I definitely didn't learn this in school. This is completely brand new to me. Surprisingly, at least from my experience, I was very, very surprised to learn that there are so many people out there willing to help you. And as confidence grew and grew and grew, and as both women in the industry and men helped me kind of learn, and now I am where I am. So I think gaining confidence is one of my biggest challenges. Even though I really love to learn, I don't like being in the spotlight. And what we do is very much in the spotlight. Everything from looking at what we've done to physically watching us at shows. So for sure, learning and to believe in yourself, take every opportunity to learn from other people in the industry. That is the reason why I started Women of Wraps. I wanted other women to learn from other women. One thing that I commonly hear from the women in our group is that when they ask a question about the industry in another group, they're usually met with a sarcastic answer or talked down to, belittled. So creating a space where women especially can feel safe and comfortable learning, being able to make a mistake, being able to be wrong, and getting a correct answer without some snarky comment was definitely at the top of my goal. So there are places, if you are trying to join this industry, there are places for you to feel safe. Like, you can make a mistake and it's okay. That's definitely the biggest thing I needed to learn. And it's okay to make a mistake in front of other people.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so important that you created that space for women joining that such a male-dominated segment of our industry. So thank you very much for doing that. So kind of growing on, expanding on that question rather, what opportunities do you feel that wide format printing, the technologies that it brings on, open for women and potentially other minorities? Do you find that these technologies kind of level the playing field? Or do you think that, on the contrary, maybe because of our educational background or, work backgrounds or whatever it is, do you think that it creates a wider gap between with other players?
I feel that it is really based on an individual and how much work someone is willing to put in. Your limits are in your own mind. You can learn just about anything. I mean, of course, there's hurdles and obstacles in the way, and sometimes it's harder for others than it is for some, but it is possible. I think that this definitely levels the playing field. I know that we as a business wouldn't be here if printing was not a thing. At some point, the color change world was all printed. There weren't colors available. So it's definitely evolved, and it's going to continue to do so, and it's going to continue to create opportunities for, just endless. And as listeners were here just today, I'm in the car wrapping world, and you'll hear about people in fashion, or people who print, or people who, it's just endless opportunities. I think if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to put some hard work, and it's something that you enjoy doing, which is also important, it can absolutely take you to the next level.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Jen. And for all of you listening that are into car wrapping, make sure to check out Carbon Wraps. Their website is www.carbonwrapsorlando.com. So if you want to look at all the exotic cars and all the great wraps that Jen and her team are doing, that's definitely a great resource. Thank you, Jen. Our third guest today is Rosa Lopez, who is actually the woman that introduced me to the print and graphics industry. So Rosa is the managing director for Chemica US, which is a heat transfer manufacturer based in France. She currently leads the company's commercial growth in the US, Canada, and South America. In that role, she is responsible for the strategic direction, the vision, and the performance of the Chemica brand. She has had a wide career in both distribution and in the print industry, which really has allowed her to successfully set up Chemica's first international subsidiary, mainly focusing on the growth and support of their distributor channel across the continent. So under her leadership, Chemica identified untapped market trends in the fashion line and introduced what is still today one of the most popular printable vinyls. And it's one of the brands that we routinely work with our Mimaki products as well. And it's very used by several sports brands in the Americas. Outside of her day-to-day, Rosa is also a foreign trade advisor involved in supporting her community by sharing her experience with public and private players, whose role is to promote international trade, primarily between the US and France. Rosa holds a master's degree in international trade and negotiation from the University of La Sorbonne in Paris. She has lived in Atlanta for already 15 years, and she mentioned that in her free time, she enjoys playing tennis, cooking, house renovations, and long walks with her daughter and with her new puppy, which I've seen photos of, and it's adorable. So Rosa, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank Mimaki for the invitation and for being part of this amazing panel. Thank you, Christina, for this introduction and for asking this very interesting question. And by the way, I'm very happy that I introduced you to this amazing industry and that you stayed in it.
Yes, Definitely. I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for introducing me to the industry.
So to answer your question, I'm going to say that, well, the print industry, and I think Lainey and Jane touch on that, the print industry is no different from what we're seeing in other industries. And I've been in the waste management industry and in the mineral industry, just to name a few. And this industry is a male-dominated industry. And as such, we as women, we face very unique challenges. And because of these hurdles, the industry, and especially private companies, need to step in and play a major role to keep hiring and attracting talented professionals. As we've seen and we've heard since we started this conversation, opportunities within this industry are no longer designated for men only, right? So, and the panel that we have today is a proof of that. So there is a lot to be done, and it needs to start at the top. And I would say that organizations and leaders and their leaders, they need to not just, I would say, encourage discussions around attracting, but also retaining, mentoring, empowering their female employees. It's important, and I think Jen said that it's important to make us feel welcome, supported, included, and not just in March, right, every year, but all the time. Make us feel valued, not just by recognizing our performance, our expertise, but also by closing the pay gap, because there is one. And I would even go further. This is a big industry. It's absolutely profitable. So I would say that maybe this industry needs to start establishing some goals, right, to improve the number of the percentage of women, in this industry. And I'm going to end by saying that at Chemica, I'm extremely proud to say that our top positions are held by women. So our CFO is a woman, our group sales director is a woman, our marketing director is a woman, and I'm running the business here. So I think, it's not over, right? But I think we're heading in the right direction.
It's great to have stories as well of private companies like that are really putting women in key strategic decision-making capacities. So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to also learn a little bit more about within the segment that you're in, the heat transfer manufacturing. A growing segment of its sales is coming from the crafting market, which at least to date is still dominated by women. So women crafters, a lot of them having started that new entrepreneurship. So how has heat transfer vinyl created a space for women entrepreneurs, women designers, to start their own businesses?
So, and I'm glad that you're asking that question. So thank you, Christina. The craft market has definitely changed the print landscape and the way that we do business. Vinyl over the years has become a popular craft item, and vinyl cutting is quickly growing niche. So the emergence of smaller cutter machines have allowed crafters to pick up this hobby. And what we've seen is a lot of entrepreneurs, a large number of them are women, and they're basically turning a hobby into a very profitable business in the comfort of their house. So this really has allowed women who started this as a hobby to have a second income and to just be part of this thriving industry. This industry is very competitive, so you really have to find a way to differentiate yourself. So you get in, but if you want to stay and grow, you really have to learn how to differentiate yourself. The printing industry is exceptional in that is creative, fast-paced, continually evolving, diverse, visual, and engaging. And these are all the qualities that women are known for. So I would say, this is also why we find a lot of women in this industry.
That's great to hear that. Thank you, Rosa. And I know heat transfer, in addition to having a very growing role within the crafting market, is also increasingly used in high-end fashion and popular fashion, fast fashion as well. So I think it's a good time to segue into our next speaker, who is fashion designer Anabela Verguero. So Anabela is original from Argentina. Anabela studied clothing and textile design at the Universidad de Palermo in Argentina. Her brand is called Maison Nomade and was selected for the 6th edition of Fashion Edition Buenos Aires. And her collection was also presented at the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week of Mexico in 2015. Since then, her brand has really been, has become a benchmark within the emerging Argentinian fashion design and has been featured in many exciting fashion events. Among Anna's many achievements, Maison Nomade became the first brand to feature a gender-neutral collection at the Buenos Aires Fashion Week in 2016, and also was also presented at the Buenos Aires International Fashion Film Festival. Anna was also awarded in 2016 the Emerging Designer of the Year Award by Harper's Bazaar Argentina. So after gaining all this experience, mostly within Argentina and Mexico, she went over to London to pursue a postgraduate degree at the London Art and Design University. And there she chaired and co-founded the Latinx Creative Society. She has also recently graduated from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, where she was selected by the Council of Fashion Designers of America Future Graduates Showcase. In November, she was also awarded the SUNY Prize for Performing Arts, Creation, and Curation with her proposal, Constructing Identities, Gender, Culture, and Femininity in Contemporary Latin America. So Anabela, you have quite a history of creating and designing and working with gender identities. And on your most recent project, you relied on Mimaki's technologies to bring your designs to life, working very closely in partnership with Victoria. So digital and print technologies, as extensions by nature of graphic and arts industries, allow really for explorations and expressions of gender, roles, identities. So how do you take advantage of these technologies to express your voice as an artist?
Thank you, first of all, for having me here and that beautiful introduction. And also that's a beautiful question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I feel that the question in itself, it's also kind of framing prints in a beautiful way to understand or think about them, because like prints talk, prints express, and they're such a big and great platform to communicate. And the visual power of the printed format, add to that it's on a fabric, then on a garment, then someone is wearing it. So it's an incredible tool of communication, expression, and also the making of oneself. So in the project you mentioned, Constructing Identities, I research and explore my migratory journeys from Argentina to Mexico, Mexico to Argentina, and then to the US. And I was also researching how the construction of womanhood was kind of built or done in these different cultures I lived in. And I wanted the prints to really express that story and to create a visual vocabulary that would recreate a Latinx visual universe. So in that sense, the prints in my project became a medium for storytelling, which I feel is very powerful, the way we communicate our stories or the stories of our cultures. So counting also with Mimaki's support and the technology, being a student throughout this project and Victoria's help, which I'm always grateful, Victoria, to you, has been amazing to have counted on that while being a student. So thank you for betting on me and my talent. And I knew what I wanted to say, and the printed medium has really expanded that voice in a way that has been new for me. It's the first time I use so much print in what I'm doing. So to see the prints on the fabric, my whole body is ignited with life and energy, and it's also usually the reaction I get from people. So it's nice also to see how people react to the garment and the printed garment. And so for me, what I learned throughout this project is the power of print is it connects us and it makes us feel something, and it awakens our senses and our inner creative self. So I'm not sure if I'm answering to that question, but I'm like, just, yeah, that would be the answer.
No, I think you definitely agree. You definitely answered the question, and I think you gave a very good definition of what printing is and the impact that printing can have. Not only when, like you said, you're wearing it, it becomes part of how you represent your identity, but like we've discussed with many of the women here, how you represent yourself, your company, your brand, be that in the car wrapping you chose, or the poster you want on your wall, the wallpapers you decide for your home, or obviously how you dress. Print really has the power to present your identity and share that with the world. So thank you so much for presenting it very eloquently. The other topic I wanted to discuss with you is more kind of looking at the fashion industry itself. What additional initiatives would you like to see, as a young women designer growing in the fashion industry? What initiatives would you want to see within the fashion industry to improve representation of minorities and visibility for their work?
So the fashion industry in that sense needs to create social and creative innovations, like right now, in which we rethink how the fashion industry has been structured, and we ideate other possibilities by inviting people to the table that have not had a seat. So that, believe it or not, for fashion being like a female industry, that's like a stereotype that's been perpetuated in the industry. But like in schools, 80% of fashion students are women, but only 14%, so 14% of fashion brands are run by women. So it's an industry that even if it's claimed to be a female universe, is not giving at all predominant positions of creative power to us. So first, that really needs to change. And coming from a peripheria of fashion, right, from the global south, I did not grow up in a fashion capital. The first time I did school, I was, more in the peripheria of fashion. So the way we would conceptualize or think about fashion is very different to the way I later learned while studying in London or New York. So I've experienced in that sense an outsider status from the fashion system. And in that peripheria, I witnessed so many like sustainable, socially engaged projects going on. And what I experienced from us, independent designers and smaller producers, it was such a willingness to collaborate, exchange, and help one another, and really inviting one another and seeing one another. So I would say for big fashion companies, they need to invest money, put money in creating an inclusive culture. And for this to happen on a larger scale, as I said before, money needs to be put in this cultural shift. So granting paid internships for minorities with the possibility also of growing within the company, because it's also not how much minority are you having in the company, but how probable it is for minority talent to grow within the company and have access to higher and higher positions. So recruiting people that also will challenge the pre-existing culture, because we've seen that the pre-existing culture is not representing all of us. And it's been also researched that diverse companies make almost 20% more in revenue. So it's a win-win, really, when we start talking about diversity and diversifying the way we are, structuring fashion. It can have an economical growth, a potential economical growth too. So it's not choosing diversity versus, capital, but both of them can really come together. So I would add also to create and sponsor fashion competitions in the global south. We need to kind of break that wall between the north and the south to create incubators for emerging fashion businesses that belong to minorities, create grants, and facilitate tools and resources for those who were rendered invisible in the making of fashion. I would wrap this up. I know I went a little bit too long by saying that we need to be willing to change the rules of the game and invite more people to it. Put the money in diversifying the industry's culture and creative inclusive initiatives. And diversity is not a choice. And if we think it is, we are willingly choosing not to see what is around us.
I think that's a great answer and a great to-do list for the fashion, but also for the larger industry as a whole. So hopefully we'll see these changes implemented.
That's my birthday wish. That's my birthday wish for the next 10 years.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think we can all agree on that. So I think that's a great initiatives, great ideas, and hopefully we can see these materialize within all segments of the industry in the next years. And as Mimaki as a whole, we also wanted to say we're so excited to work with up-and-coming designers like yourself, and so proud to see that our prints are really helping bring those ideas and express your vision, bring it to life. So thank you so much for allowing us to print your vision.
Yeah, thank you.
So part of Annabella's project was also very reliant on dye sublimation printing. So it's only fitting that in our next segment we include a leading paper manufacturer in this dye sublimation segment of print industry. So Ana Seleme, who's here with us today, is the regional sales manager for Latin America and export sales at Beaver Paper, which is a globally recognized brand and pioneer in sublimation. Beaver Paper is a member of Kohler Paper Group, which is a leader in the paper industry. For almost 7 years, Ana has been managing Beaver Paper's Latin America sales region and has created strong relationships with several large channel partners. So she's been utilizing her experience to evaluate channel strategies, developing and delivering effective sales and marketing plans to support growth in this region. Prior to Beaver Paper, Ana worked in high-level positions at CMB USA, BL Systems Incorporated, Hennessy Industries LLC, a Fortive company, and Magato Incorporated as well. From her role at Beaver Paper, Ana is really in a unique position to engage with the growing textile and wide format printing markets in Central and South America, where we've really seen that digital printing has taken a very quick and quite stable growth. So Ana, looking at the textile industry specifically, it is changing rapidly with the growth of these digital printing technologies for textile. What is the effect of this change on women's access to financing, technology, and jobs?
Definitely. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to the entire Mimaki team and the other strong women on this panel. It's an absolute honor to be here with you guys. I definitely have been working in the Latin American market my entire career, but more recently over the last 7 years, I have had the absolute pleasure to see sublimation, dye sublimation, and digital printing explode in the market in Central and South America, as well as Mexico. So for me to see the industry returning to those regions, these cities building themselves up, U.S. investing into those countries. There are many U.S. companies that now do their production in those countries. It's been an absolute pleasure to see that type of growth. Definitely for what we've seen, the trends in technology, it's definitely seen a drive for automation in Central and South America. We went from having a manual process. I've been in many facilities that they were cutting their patterns 6 and 7 years ago, to now we see the Zun machines, the Gerber machines. They've gone from small, teeny tiny digital print sublimation printers into the higher industrial marks that we see too. We love seeing a tiger in Central America, so it's definitely exciting when we hear about one being installed. So definitely what I feel has happened is the opportunities for women in those industries has grown. I will say this, many years ago when I started in sublimation, you did tend to see, only the cut and sew sections were where the women were working. The women were producing and supervising the floors. Now it's been an absolute pleasure. I just came off from a trip to Colombia, and the woman was actually running the entire sublimation division. So again, the growth that we've seen in those positions. I also, now I have colleagues, competitors, friends, different types of vendors. I see more women in sales. Also the facility management, the executive level as far as the financing, production, operations, procurement, all those positions within these large, huge textile and sublimation facilities. It's an absolute pleasure to walk into a meeting and you kind of have that bond because we know what it took to get there. So definitely, I think what's most important is our drive from the absolute small user that's wanting to do our own startup business to, if you're going into a larger facility, you take that knowledge, you take that experience, and you apply for your first position within that large production facility, and you build yourself up, because there's always a base level of education that you have to have in this industry, and then your experience. And so as we continue to build on our experience, I think it's extremely important that we continue to celebrate the wins when we go into these different facilities, celebrate the wins when we visit, hopefully soon, our trade shows as they continue to open up. You know, we're not just there to hand out the coffee and candy anymore. We're actually there to do some real business. So it's been an absolute pleasure to see the transition into those upper level production and executive management roles.
Definitely, and we're probably the ones drinking all the coffee now. So
we make sure it's the good coffee. We do make sure it's
absolutely
the good coffee.
Great. So I think in all aspects we're bringing up the standards. So that's very good. Thank you so much, Anna, for that feedback. So like you said, we have seen a lot of positives. What do you think are still some gender-based challenges that need to be confronted in the industry, whether it's sublimation, textile, or signage as a whole?
You know, being the word challenge is just such a distinct challenge. I think obviously with the panel that we have on hand, we hear the word challenge and something motivates within us in our competitive nature. So I think challenge for me 15, 20 years ago was kind of offsetting, made me a little nervous. But I think in today's world and where I'm at in my career today, I hear challenge and then I go directly to where am I going to find the solution? So definitely I've been able to like switch that into an inner motivator. But I will say it is each of our own individual responsibilities, especially since we are women. We have to control our own destiny, whether we're a business owner, whether we're a sales manager, whether we're a high-level executive. We have to, as we go through these doors, we have to smash through the ceilings. But most important, we have to extend a hand to the people that are coming up behind us. And we have to make sure that we continue to pave the way for the young talent that's coming up behind us. It's a scary transition, but we see it. You know, we all have people around us in our own companies or within the industry that we cross paths with that we're like, man, in 5 years, she's just going to be rocking it. So it's definitely reach out to those people. I think all of us with so much experience, you know, I always tell everybody, I don't ever meet someone that I don't make a friend immediately. At least introduce yourself, at least ask them what they do. And most important, ask them what you can do for them by any means. So I think it's very important. You know, we've all been through our peaks and our valleys, but most important, when we're on our peaks, we have to definitely extend the hand and pull people up with us.
Thank you, Anna. I think that's a great inspiration, a great message for everyone. And kind of goes back to the theme that Lainey was bringing back of, you know, mentorship and creating those relationships to support each other, and the presence of women within the industry. So for For our next, and since we're on the topic of entrepreneurship, I think this is a good transition. Our next speaker is a very successful local entrepreneur, Liddy Brown. Liddy is in her 8th year as an entrepreneur. She's the president and co-owner of Speed Pro Marietta, which is specializing in large format printing. Her location is actually the only African-American women-owned franchise in the Speed Pro group. Sorry. From banners to vehicle wraps, Speed Pro Marietta helps companies bring visibility to their business or organization. In 2019, Speed Pro Marietta was selected as one of the top 25 small businesses of the year by Cobb County. In addition to being very busy running the business, Liddy is also president of the National Association of Business Owners, the Atlanta chapter. She's also the first vice president of the Printing and Imaging Association of Georgia. She's a board member of Cobb Chamber and also a board member of the Zion Baptist Academy. Liddy is a graduate of Leadership Cobb, class of 2018, and is currently a board member of the Leadership Cobb Alumni Association. As if she wasn't busy enough, in 2016, Liddy published her first book titled Leadership Lessons from the Heart, and is currently working on her 2nd book as well. So Liddy is inspirational, influential, creative. She's a very dynamic communicator. And through her years of employment and both community involvement, she has helped individuals personally and professionally realize their dreams. Liddy earned a Bachelor of Business Administration in Management from Texas State University. And she's also very active in leadership roles in her church, Turner Chapel AME in Marietta, and within her community. She's also an active member and officer at the Rho Zeta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. So Liddy, my first question, as the co-owner and president of Speed Pro Marietta, and working by providing these printing services to very diverse businesses, how do you think sign shops like yours can recruit talent and foster a more diverse workforce?
Thank you, Christina. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for the rest of the panel. Your answers have been awesome, and your feedback. So I've learned a lot just listening. It's interesting that when you ask about, recruiting for talent, and I'm sure everybody on here that's dealing with labor type talent or hands-on, it's difficult. It's challenging, and because the market, and when you think about the industry, is so broad, just listening to everybody on here, and when you try to narrow down for somebody who wants to load equipment, print, cut, laminate, it's a hands-on business. It's very challenging. And, there's probably 15, 20 different ways that everybody does it, looking for talent. The one thing that I realized after my 8 years and on my 4th production manager, that you had to kind of change your thinking. And it's not trying to find all things in one person. There's no cookie cutter approach to just getting that one great talent. But I realized that you find, what are the things that you absolutely have to have? What's that skill and talent? When it comes to, I know the software, I know the front end, but I may not know your specific equipment. And I have a general idea of what the market. The other part, which I think we have found to be more important, is does the person fit your values of your company? Do they have the customer first value feeling and proposition that you promote? Can they articulate when they're talking to customers, really how we want the business to be viewed? And then do they have the work ethic? And I know Lainey probably sees that a lot when you're looking at folks that, I may not go to college and don't want the degree, I want a labor job. But do I have the skill set to say I know how to work a full day? And I'm not calling in sick the next day because I work too long. And so trying to recruit and find that talent, I do think it's a balance between finding the skills and finding the attributes that makes them a good employee. And I think in our industry, it's tough. One of the things that I have to say with being on the board of PIAG, we have a foundation, and that foundation is there to focus on how do we get people to recruit into the market. And so if you're not starting at high school, where high school kids that may not want to go to college, that want that type of job, you're competing against people that want them to go be electricians and plumbers, because they can make a lot more money coming right out of the gate. But if they come out, you know, and have that interest in hands-on graphics, and whether it's wrapping the vehicle or, you know, printing the trade show display, they've got to have that, what do you call it, the artistry feel behind it. And then when they do go to college and they want that design, it just enhances that. But we've got to start with finding people and grooming that talent to even want to be in this part of the market, because it becomes a lot more challenging. Secondly, real quick, as far as the diverse workforce, it's the same thing. You've got to go, you know, you're looking for that talent. And if you look past the person as far as what you see and listen to what they say and what they actually perform, we have a, you know, I have a reverse diverse employee staff, and that currently today it's all African American. But over the last 8 years, we've had everybody. We've had majority, we've had African Americans, we've had Hispanic. But the bigger challenge, I think, for us is really, you've got to find men who don't mind working for women. So we have a different mindset in that, okay, you've got a very strong owner that happens to be a woman. Sometimes, you know, men don't necessarily like taking that instruction. And so, you know, it gives you that opportunity to go maybe find a female that is in that talent. We did have that opportunity too. And she was a great production manager, had other issues and ended up leaving. But there are women out there, there are men out there. And I think the diverse talent is probably not as much challenging as just finding people that want to be in this side of the industry.
That's great. And I'm glad you're finding that talent to join your team. You have a really good a good team from the look of it, and I'm glad everything's running smoothly. So I guess the second question, you've kind of covered it as well, but wanted to discuss a little bit those initiatives, not only as your private business, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, but what initiatives do you think that the industry as a whole, whether it's financial support or mentoring opportunities, what type of initiatives would you want to see from the industry to be more inclusive of gender, race, other minority factors as well?
You know, I think that's a very good question. And I think part of the problem when you think about it, and I know we talked about this being last month was Black History Month, but the only time you're looking at, well, what am I doing as a support for Black history? Or this month is Women History. What am I doing all of a sudden to support women history? Well, there's 12 months in a year. What are you doing every month to support? Not just the month that we've identified for either one. And I think even in our franchise, when you look around how you're trying to recruit, where are you going to recruit for owners or people that want to be in that franchise business? You know, are you looking broader than just what you're comfortable with and what you actually see? And then for us, we've talked to our headquarters, and they know this. You wanting to promote it, but then when you look at the staff within the headquarters of the franchise, the franchisor, you have no diversity. You know, you have a couple of women, but it's pretty much all white males. And so when you're out there trying to recruit a female to be an owner or a minority to be an owner, who are they going to see within your own organization? One of the things I am very involved in, you read on that, probably too involved, ladies, but it does make a difference if I'm trying to talk to somebody about becoming a member of PIAG that has a business or becoming a member of the chamber. It's a lot easier when you say, I'm on the board, I'm in doing something, I'm trying to be that a visible person that we just heard that. So if you see me doing it, it puts a comfort level for people to push themselves out. They have to see us more in doing the things that we're asking. And then we push back on some of the men to say, hey, if you want somebody else in there, you're talking to me. It can't be that hard. I'm here, you know. So there are other people like me that are out there. You just have to be willing to go out there and look and identify and find the places where they are you want to be.
Thank you. Definitely. I think it's such an interesting way how awareness, like you said, creating that awareness of the need to be more inclusive, but also being more visible, giving more space for those voices. It all really intersects, and how we keep promoting a more inclusive space within our industry. So thank you, Liddy, for that information, for those ideas as well. Our final guest for the day is Molly Waters. So Molly started working at Avery Dennison in 1997, which is right about the time where the digital printing technology really started taking off. So Molly really grew up in this industry, not only witnessing firsthand how the industry was changing over the years, but also having a very active role in shaping the industry and shaping the development of products that Avery Dennison was releasing to the market. Her areas of expertise are digital printing and installation of graphics. She has even passed her PDAA's master certification test. So her day-to-day includes a lot of troubleshooting, helping with research and development, but also really working hands-on on various projects. Molly is based in Dallas, Texas, where she also enjoys spending time with family and friends. What I found very interesting, Molly, about your profile is that within the workplace and outside, you're really a maker and a crafter. You do a lot of woodworking, you have a vinyl cutter, and you even recently taken up 3D printing, kind of a little bit ahead of how the industry itself is also embracing 3D printing as a whole. So that's very interesting. So actually, I wanted to let everybody know, if you do want to check out Molly's projects, she's on Instagram with the handle @MollyTheMaker88. And alongside with Rosa, she also has a very cute dog. I saw your dog pictures on there. So it's
funny. I've been waiting for her to interrupt me here, and she hasn't. So thankfully,
she's been behaving. It seems.
Yeah,
she's adorable. So Molly, you really witnessed, like you had mentioned to us, the industry grow, and you've also been very, very present in seeing the increase of women leadership, women participation within various segments of the industry. How do you think that corporations and businesses can support initiatives to continue encouraging women who print?
Lainey actually touched on it in her, when she answered one of the questions, is STEM. I'm a big believer in STEM. I became involved with some of the Lego program about 2 years ago, and I would love to see corporations take more support, or put more support into those programs. For me, the Lego First was a program I actually started helping coach my nephew's group. And I went to the coaches meeting, and one of the things I learned during that was that girls that participate in this, or actually everybody that participates in it, but really focused on girls, was if you participate in Lego First, you are 2 times more likely to enter science and engineering programs. And the statistics, 33% of women would major in engineering if they've been part of STEM and Lego First. So that right there, I think getting involved in programs like that, is going to help foster the girls as they grow up to be more interested in science and technology, which then leads into, our printing industry. We have women engineers and PhDs within Avery Dennison developing the products that we're all using in print. Mimaki has them, women engineers, hopefully designing your printers. So to me, it's really starting young and trying to get these programs to gain that interest. It's harder, the older we get, it's harder to become interested, because that stigma is there of, do I belong in this technology? But if we're teaching this young, then we're going to, it's going to be that I belong. There's no reason why I can't do this job. So that's what I'd like to see, is more participation there, and also encouraging the employees, us women employees that are in these roles, to also support and participate in those programs.
And definitely, I think that's a very good an interesting perspective, because when we think of how do we mentor women in this industry, in all industries, we often focus in that college, postgraduate window, without realizing that these passions, these interests, whether it's for science, for technology, really start much earlier. You know, you can start at 3. So how do you kind of create that relationship and foster that interest at a very, very young age to hopefully see the results further down the line? So that's a very good point.
And I know it's a little bit different take on it, but I think that's for me, you know, personally growing up, I was never taught that I didn't belong. You know, my dad always made us help. I had to help my dad in the garage. You know, we talked about cars earlier, and I was right there. So I never had that thought that girls don't work on cars, because I did. You know, girls don't fix things. Well, I did. So those were things that were just fostered for me early on. And I think that's helped me in my career.
That's great. And it's different. It kind of relates to what we were discussing about different roles and different identities, how women are portrayed. And it's good to have that visibility of women can build, and women can be crafters, and can be fixing cars, can be wrapping cars, to kind of change that idea, and can do it within a very feminine identity. It's a very, very different perception than we had originally from you know, from when the industry maybe started. I can imagine it.
Yes,
it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Great. So I guess the final question I wanted to ask you was, what advice would you give to these young women, students joining the industry, whether it's going to be as professionals, as business owners, creators, and maybe what advice would you have liked to receive when you first joined this industry?
But I think the advice I would give is, you know, right off is that you do belong, you know, and be bold, you know, and know you have your place in this industry. And, you know, kind of tying back into something Anna said about, you know, you control your destiny, and, you know, give a hand up, you know, help somebody if you do see them struggling a little bit, to make sure that you help coach them. You know, the women helping women is important. You know, we should be helping everybody, but, you know, if you see a young woman getting into this, to make sure that you're helping coach and offer some guidance, so that she doesn't feel lost. But I think, you know, for me, it's just, you know, emphasizing, know you belong to anybody.
That's a great message. Thank you so much, Molly.
Thank you. Thanks for including me in this. This has been great.
I wanted to close the discussion, kind of bringing everybody back, and having maybe our final discussion about, and including, you know, everybody here on the panel, the women at Mimaki as well. Maybe if anybody had any last comments or any additions to all the excellent ideas and initiatives that we've discussed today. But how can we all, as sisters in print, women who print, girls who print, however we decide to present it, how can we really lead the path for those future generations, and carve out a space within the industry where they feel safe, where they feel supported, and where they can really grow and take these leadership roles within the industry? I don't know if anybody wants to go first, or.
Well, let me just say this. I do think, and I think Molly said it very well, and that is, you got to know who you are and what it is you want to do and where you want to go. A lot of times, I think, particularly, you know, I'll say this, I always pick on the younger generation because I'm not in that anymore. It's, you know, I'm going to do this for 1 minute, then I jump over here, and then I jump to something else. Whatever that might be, you've got to know what is it. Not only do you feel like you're good at, but what's your passion to do? And then I look for and identify mentors that will be there that support you. It's challenging for me. I support a lot of women. I tell them all the time, it's as a mentor. Can you be my mentor? You know, I can, but I'm not chasing you as the mentor, as the mentee. You know, you've got to call and check in. You got to tell me what are you looking for? What do you need? But then be there, you know, that resource and providing that information. So some of the responsibility falls back on the person, and then we're there to support and then provide that guidance.
Oh, yeah.
I think leading by example, you know, realize it, and as we are working in all of our positions, we're visibly, you know, noticed by younger women, and just showing what we do. If I'm running a press, I hope that shows to my students that you can do this too. You can, you know, make sure that they understand that they have that potential, and that we're cognizant of that we are leading by example, just by doing our jobs and doing it well and doing it efficiently and rocking it.
I would agree.
I agree with what's all been said. I know for me personally, as a woman in the wrap world, when I first started 10 years ago, I didn't know of any other women. I didn't know of female sales reps. I didn't know of female business owners. I didn't know of female installers, female designers. And it wasn't until I started networking and putting myself out there that I started meeting all the other women and just seeing that there's a ton of women here. We just sometimes don't like the spotlight. But if you're willing to go out and shake someone's hands and network, you can definitely meet people to talk to, meet mentors, meet just a whole array of different people and learn from them. So for future generations, don't be afraid to speak up, to go say hi to someone. More than likely, that person is more than willing to talk your ear off about the industry and ways for you to be involved.
And definitely, Jen, honestly, it's absolutely amazing what you're doing. And I think that maybe when you started out, people saw it as a novelty, but absolutely not anymore. You're stable in the industry, you're well known in the industry, and you know it's a solid company. I was looking it up; it's so impressive. But definitely, it's no longer a novelty to just be like, oh no, she's a female and she raps. Oh no, she raps better than most men.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think that's what's so important for women, is being able to go out of your comfort zone and believing in yourself. And I think that's what we all have definitely seen in ourselves, is being outside of our comfort zone and then achieving those things that we want to achieve. And it just feels so good. So just reminding women who are in the younger generation that it's okay to be exactly who you are, be out of your comfort zone, and then those rewards that come with it are just so great.
I want to add one thing I did, really quick, and I'm sorry for this, but when you said that, be out of your comfort zone, women have one thing that makes them a great fit in this industry, and we have attention to detail. Women are very good at detail-oriented type environments, and that's what every aspect of digital is attention to detail. And I think we don't always focus on our strengths. We're so busy, people looking at what you can't do, but accentuate those strengths that you have, and it fits very well into this industry.
Yeah, don't worry about defending yourself. Worry about doing good things and doing good things for the company and yourself.
Absolutely. Your work will talk for itself.
What has helped for me, coming from Latin American gender roles being like so, from a conservative part of Latin American gender roles being so like, like boxes that you had to follow. If you did not follow them, it was very violent, the way you would be put back in the box. So for me, it has been reading as much as I could to educate myself on the conditions of being a woman in a patriarchal world. And that has been, for like, at least personally, and what I see in my friends in Latin America, it's been a way to empower ourselves in this process of self-educating, to make our own decisions, because sometimes we don't understand we can make our own decisions, because it's our sense of self sometimes as women is dictated by the needs of others and not so much putting our needs first, I feel. And I'm talking, from my background, I don't know how things are in terms, in this sense in the US. But yeah, we are able to make our own decisions, to have personal agency, to follow our gut, our heart, and to kind of allow ourselves to dream, and dream big, not staying small, not staying silent. I'm done wanting to be invisible. I want to shine, and prints in that sense are great because it's like there. I am here, So yeah, that would be my learning.
Having tangible things is just so awesome.
Anna, I love your passion and your energy. I just want to say something, and I think everybody said that. I mean, I'm French, and I came here 14 years ago, and I started in this industry. And to go back to what Anna was saying, I think if you're not afraid of who you are, if you show that passion, that energy, that you're eager to learn, that you're eager to exchange, that you don't feel, intimidated by men, but take also their input to grow, to learn. I mean, this is a great industry to be in. But be yourself. Don't be afraid, because I know I was absolutely welcomed by this industry when I started 14 years ago, and I didn't know anything. But if you want to grow, you're gonna find, and I'm gonna say women, but also men who are gonna help you. So let's be inclusive as well, because I think we have a lot to learn also from men.
Just to add to that as well, so I kind of think, as women, we should be the change that we want to see. But whatever that is, as being confident, when you fear something, that's the thing that you should do. Whatever that is, push yourself to do that, and then you will grow exponentially. So that's my note.
That's that stepping out of your comfort zone. And I think that's absolutely right. That's how you're going to grow. You can't do the same thing and expect success.
Absolutely.
The idea also that's been mentioned of sisterhood, or creating a community that uplifts you. And in that sense, Victoria, I really want to say thank you, because you were kind of my mentor throughout my project. And me being a student, I felt that sisterhood with you and also with Mimaki. So I want to acknowledge that.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for all your comments, for all your insights, for agreeing to participate in 1795C Table Talk Sisters in Print. I really enjoyed having this very emboldening, passionate conversation with all of you. I think it's a very important conversation to have, and as it's been brought up several times in the discussion, to have not only in March, but every day, every month of the year. So I hope we don't wait another year to have this discussion, but to really continue working and creating this sisterhood and collaboration. I also want to thank all of you for really creating that visibility that you're bringing to the industry, for the work that you do in supporting other women, other minorities within whether it's your companies, within your segments. So really thank you for taking that lead and putting the work in that's needed to push this industry forward. So thank you very much for everybody that participated in today's panel. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.